All right. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yes, so I am excited to be teaching this cohort for the next 4 weeks. And you've heard enough about me. I would like to introduce our teaching assistant, Marki Lyons. So do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Marki. I am a freelance web developer and educator, so I do teach as well. And I began learning how to code just a couple of years ago. And now I'm super excited to be TAing for these classes and helping out Faraja, who is my inspiration for working in this position at the moment.
Yes, I'm so excited also to work with Marki again because we did do a class before and it just worked out really wonderful. She's a natural and she is a great support if you have questions, and if for some reason I missed something in the chat, she can definitely bring it to my attention. So please feel free. Also, please feel free. Well, you have your camera on, Martinette, but yes, here in this class, feel free to turn your cameras on, unmute, interrupt me. It's a very, very safe space. That's what we want to create here. If you need more support, you need me to slow down, repeat something, show something. That's my goal of what to do. All right. So usually we ask you to tell us about yourself and what you hope to get out of the class. And just as an icebreaker, if you have any interesting YouTube or TikTok habits. So I'll go first. My name is Faraja Thompson. I am in New Jersey right now. And I hope that everyone will grow at some level, even if it's just the little practice site that you are able to successfully do on your own. I would be really happy if you could do that because we're all at different levels with this class. And so it's designed to address those different levels. And an interesting YouTube or TikTok habit, I have many. The latest one I've been thinking about, I spent like a day watching these are tiny, teeny, tiny cooking videos. So I don't know how these people do it, but they have these little teeny, tiny food, even the little package, the little styrofoam and the plastic that goes on the meat, they have all of this and it's like this big, like a dollhouse size. They have teeny kitchens that they work in with little knives. And I just think it's so, so funny. So that's my latest thing. Would anybody else like to introduce themselves?
Go. That's so funny. So my name is Martinette Cousin. I'm in the East Bay area, although I grew up in South Africa and then I lived in London for a while and I lived in Barcelona for a while and now I'm here in the US. I do marketing operations and what I hope to get out of this class is to just have a better understanding of design and like the code. It would help me so much if I could just fix small things because at the moment we just got a new web developer, but I used to be the like web person and the email marketing and the like everything kind of marketing operations person. And so even though we do have a web dev right now, I don't want to ask her to help me with like little things and coding. So I think it could be really good for my career to get more into it and to learn how to do this. And that I know exactly what you're talking about, Faraja, about the little tiny cooking things. I love that too. There is also someone who does like felt stop motion stuff, and it's like someone cooking, but everything is made out of felt. And it's so cute and like stop motion kind of stuff. And also I just discovered this really cool YouTube channel. It's called Nerd Forge. And it's this girl, she just makes things. And it's so entertaining to watch her just make anything. Like I watched this really cool thing of her doing like, I think it was like Assassin's Creed outfits, and she just like makes everything from scratch. So pretty cool.
Thank you for sharing. I have to check some of those out too, because I like to watch people doing things, but I don't want to do it. I just want to watch them do it. Thank you, Marina. It's nice to see you again. Would anybody else like to introduce themselves? You could even type something in the chat if you'd like.
I'll go really quickly. So I'm Marki Lyons and I live in Savannah. To get out of this class, I hope to begin refining my thoughts on how I might eventually be able to teach classes that are similar as well. And my interesting YouTube habit is when I'm doing dishes, or at least getting the dishes into the dishwasher, I like to put on videos for things that I'd like to learn in coding. For example, Linux. I don't know Linux. And I just like to listen to it because you develop an ear for the vocabulary, for how to explain things and how to think about them. And one channel I really like to watch is Frank's Laboratory. He works with creating animations out of JavaScript, which I find fascinating. So I just have fun, kind of listening to that and watching it as I'm, putting things in the dishwasher. So that's my thing.
Thank you. That's a good point. I do that too. Like, with the little chores I don't like to do, it motivates me to have a little video on while I'm doing it. And before you know it, it's done. So yes, thank you for sharing. All right. Well, the next question, and I don't know if I said welcome to Michelle. I see you entered a little bit later, but feel free if you want to unmute, turn on your camera. We're trying to create a very relaxed environment here. So if you want to introduce yourself, you could even type in the chat. But the next question is about your experience with HTML, CSS. Since it's such a small group, maybe we can just unmute or type in the chat. You could type 1, 2, or 3, or you can unmute and tell us a little more about your experience. This will help us as we set the pace for this course, because there are some things that,
Actually,
yeah.
I can talk now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Now that I'm on, yeah, pardon me for not having my camera up. I have like my hair in a kind of do-rag, if you will. And so I'm, yeah, PJs and the whole nine. So I'm on the West Coast. So it's a little after 10 o'clock, and I was having a nice lazy morning with my spouse. So my experience with HTML and CSS is probably a 2. I have some experience. I went through a boot camp in September, and I stopped the boot camp, in the middle of JavaScript because they were going a little too fast for me, needed to spend more time. But I felt really good about HTML, especially CSS. There's so much to it, and between Flexbox and Grid and what have you. So, I'm always wanting to spend more time with CSS. I do enjoy it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, learning some new tips and tricks, and I'm always trying to keep my code dry. Yeah, looking forward to your instruction.
Great. Thank you so much. And it's nice to meet you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So our goals for this course, I think, will meet your objectives, which is to build a accessible, responsive site using HTML and CSS, and to eventually work with intermediate level structuring and styling very comfortably. And of course, at the end, we'll give you resources and information about next steps. And one thing I didn't write here, but I've been really consciously thinking about, is also learning some values that developers share, as far as being independent, about doing research. That's so important. So that's another thing we're going to work on and practice, is looking things up, figuring out where our errors are, and not getting upset when things don't work, because eventually they will work. That's the good thing about it, that it's like math, once you get it, it works. All right, so that's another thing that I want to keep in mind as our goal to like become, have that developer mindset. And so today I would like to just do an introduction on websites, web design, set up our coding environment. We're going to get right into Visual Studio Code today. And we have the option of using the online editors, but the class will be done in Visual Studio Code so that you can get used to that environment. So we'll be covering a lot of HTML elements and tags today. And I put CSS properties here. I thought I removed that because I don't know if we'll have time to really get into CSS. It might not look so pretty today, but we're going to have the structure of our website set up. If we do get to CSS, that would be great. What's really important to me for each of these 4 sessions is some supported practice time, at least 20 minutes toward the end, where we can have breakout rooms and you can pair up or join a small group and really, get comfortable turning your camera on, sharing your screen, and working on your project and getting support with your project. So, and then at the end, we'll have some feedback and time to ask questions and get answers. All right, so first we're going to we're going to do a practice website just to start out with. And then we're going to plan our project for this course, which will be a really cool website, and to just start using the foundational HTML sections style with CSS. And like I said, we'll join breakout rooms just at the end to collaborate. And that, of course, will be optional. And we'll have scheduled 5-minute breaks every hour. So stop me if it gets to 2 o'clock and I forget. I was supposed to set a little timer on my watch to make it vibrate, and I forgot to do that. So at 2 and at 3. But, if you feel you need a extra break, this is recorded. So you can always go back later if you miss anything, or when you come back, you can come and ask questions about what you might have missed. All right, so HTML. Now, let me ask before I start this, because I know, Martin, that you've been through this before. So what about you, Michelle? Did you attend the intro class yet? I just don't want to go through everything if everybody knows this stuff already.
You know what, Faraja, I didn't watch the entire recording, so it would be helpful to just go over it like quickly again, maybe.
Okay, well, that's great. That's great because Marki and I were talking, and it would be good because there are people who are not in attendance right now and who will be watching this recording later too. So maybe they would want to go through everything, but I'll try to go quickly because it's a small group here live. So I'll go at your pace. And Michelle, just let me know if, I'm going too slow or too quickly. And
Hey, we need to go with, the slowest person in the group. So,
yes.
if I need some more clarity on anything, definitely I'll chime in, but I'm feeling pretty solid. So
Great.
yeah, thank you.
Great. And this part of my presentation is a little bit different. I've added things since we have a little more time, a lot more time actually. I've added some things that are very fun. So first of all, this is little dry stuff, just terms to know when we're dealing with coding, what a website is, web applications. You might hear these terms, web design, web development, client side or front end, server side or back end. I'm not going to read through the slides, but these are just some terms. And coming up soon, you're going to see how you can navigate this slideshow if you ever need to go back quickly to certain slides. So before that, a very, very quick history of HTML. So it was invented in 1991 by a man named Tim Berners-Lee, who was in the education field. He worked at a college and he wanted to create something called hypertext to share scientific papers. And eventually it became standardized through the W3 consortium. And that makes it so that everyone uses the same HTML, so it's easy to read and use across the board. And it has changed a bit since it began. I want to show you the first web page. And I always show this because it will make anyone feel better. If this is all you get to do today, you have at least made a web page. So the first web page was just a bunch of text and links. That's all it was. And a lot of websites in that time looked like this. In fact, all the websites looked like this. And what I added to this lesson is, this, for some reason, does not give, I might be in the wrong, let's see, Web Essentials, Class 1. There were supposed to be more things on this slide. But you can explore the history of your favorite website using the Wayback Machine. You know what? Let me just refresh. I think that's what it is. I've been working on my laptop and on my desktop on these things. Yeah, there were some things. Yeah, okay. We're gonna go back to that slide in a minute, but first I wanted to try this out. So I discovered in using this slideshow that there are keyboard shortcuts that you can use to go forward, to go backward. And I wanted everybody to just try it out. And this will be a little test for me to see about my pacing. I want to make sure everybody has got it. So you could either put your thumbs up or type in the chat when you've done this little activity. So if you just hold your shift key and press the question mark button, keyboard shortcut menu will come up for you. Could everybody try that now on your machine, whether it's a Mac or like a Dell or Lenovo? It should work. You just hold your shift key and press the question mark. Give me a thumbs up, or if you're not on camera, maybe chat to let me know if it worked for you. Great.
Are we doing this on just any page or?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. We have to share the the links to the class slides.
Okay.
I shared them. They're in the chat.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marki. I worked on this slideshow on my laptop and on my desktop, and it wasn't updated on my desktop. So I'm a little bit flustered right now. So I'm sorry if I didn't say everything I wanted to say.
No worries. That worked for me.
Great. All right, Michelle, let me know if you could even use, isn't there a little like emoji that shows a thumbs up? All right, great. And to exit, all you do is click the escape button. Hi, Marta. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi there. Sorry I was late. I was actually traveling and didn't realize I signed up for a course on a Saturday when I was going to be gone.
That's okay. These courses are recorded, and
Yes.
not the only one. Someone came in earlier and kind of said hello, and then they had to get off. So
that's probably
fine.
Probably what I'm going to do today. Probably be here for half hour, then I got to hop off, and then I maybe be able to hop back on again.
Okay, that's
okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Great. So we're on slide 13 of the slideshow. And Mark, I think we might need to share it again, right? Because if someone enters after.
Oh, I can see it.
Oh, you do see it. Oh,
yes, slideshows shortcuts.
Yes.
Is that what you're on? Yes.
Yeah, and we're all just trying it out. I want to see if your machine is working and if you're able to do it. So can you try this? Just hold your shift key and the question mark, and then press the question mark key while holding the shift key. And the shortcut should come up in the slide.
Shift question. Sorry, hold on. Shift plus question mark.
Well, you just hold your shift key down.
Yeah.
While you're holding it, press the question mark button.
Yeah. Nada. No.
Okay. Are you on? Is your slideshow active?
Yeah. Let me just get the view better here. Okay. Let me try it again. Yep. I clicked into the. So when you say the slideshow on the screen, right, through the Zoom, or a separate slideshow?
Yeah, I want you to, you said you saw the link in the chat, right?
Oh, sorry. No.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me get there first. Hold on.
Yes.
I missed that. And I don't see a link in the chat.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will repost it. And I think that's just because I had posted it before you had entered.
Okay, now I have the link. Okay.
Great.
Okay, here we go. Shift plus question mark. Yes.
Great.
Voila, I'm good.
And then in order to exit the the keyboard shortcuts, please press the escape key on your keyboard.
Okay.
And the reason why I think this is important is because whenever I'm using any new tool, the first thing I want to know is, what are the shortcuts? My son happens to be a software engineer, and that's one of the values, again, values of a developer that he taught me. You want to keep your fingers on the keyboard as much as possible. Programmers don't really like to use their mouth. So if you learn keyboard shortcuts, it actually helps you to go faster. At first, it doesn't feel that way, but eventually things go really, really quickly when you use your keyboard. So that's why I wanted to show you these shortcuts. All right. And so Martin, did yours work?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Yep. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm a former developer. So, and I still use shortcuts all the time, keyboard shortcuts. So
Oh,
I,
yes. So you know what I'm saying, right?
yeah, mhm. Very good though.
Yes. Great. Thank you. Did you want to tell us a little more about yourself, Marta?
Oh,
Like what's your level?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll give you in the nutshell. So my nutrition degree is my bachelor's, right? I studied nutrition. And then I got intrigued by computer science and computers and web development. And so I got my master's in information resources management. And then I kind of set the nutrition aside, and I started working coding for an EMR company. That was, I don't know, a long time ago. And then I did that for a little bit. And then I got into back-end web development. And pretty much I did that for about 12 years. And then I had kids and all that. And, then I said, I have to do something flexible. I'm going to do my nutrition. I'm also a registered dietitian. So now I work for a software company that creates integrative and functional medicine software for doctors, practitioners. I'm a senior project manager, which I don't really like project management. And I also see a few clients for nutrition, but I want to get back into something more technical.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope this cohort that we're doing can help you to reach your goals. So thank you for joining us and being here.
I'm excited. Thank you.
And I was thrown off again by my slideshow not updated, and I forgot that I wanted to. I asked Marki right before this class if she wouldn't mind saying a few words about what resources we'll be sharing, what our approach is as far as helping you, and maybe how you should approach your learning. Like we all have different learning styles here. So Marki, did you want to? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but if you could say a few words, I think it would be nice to hear a different voice, not just mine.
Okay, great. Thank you, Faraja. So I will be sharing links throughout the course as we get to certain, sections of the course and certain positions in the course. Those links will go into the chat so that you can follow along. Some people have easy and great setups where they can split their screen easily, or they've got a second screen and are able to follow along in the slides on their own, hence those shortcuts that Faraja was just showing you, if you need to move around in the slides. And for some of you, that may be a little bit more difficult because you might not have, the capabilities, or maybe the screen size is a little bit too small when you split it in half, and it makes things difficult to follow along. So don't feel pressured to have to keep those slides open necessarily, because I'll make sure that you'll have all the links that you need to follow through the chat. So just keep an eye on the chat here and there. And I know sometimes the chat will disappear as well. For example, I've got it on my second screen right now. And when I do something on the second screen, it will disappear and I have to re-click on it, but not a big deal. Go ahead if you have questions and you don't feel like interrupting verbally, you can throw them in the chat. We're happy to relay them back and forth to Faraja as necessary so we can get those questions answered. The other big thing was, for example, Faraja and I were talking, and I did a boot camp about a year and a half ago. And one of the things that I found useful was just following along and not necessarily trying to always code along. And you might feel that that's the best thing to do and go back and look at the recording later on and practice then. But you might also be able to follow along and code along. So that's going to be up to you. It's going to depend on your learning style and how your setup is. So feel free to do what you need to do and stop us as needed in order, to allow us to help you best during the course.
Thank you. That was really well said. I appreciate it. I think it's important to understand that we're all, it's very different how we all learn. So just feel comfortable. And that time at the end is also another opportunity to work at your own pace when we go into breakout rooms and just work or stay in the whole group and just have a chance to share our code and really take it slow. All right, so let's go back to that slide where this is so fun of looking at websites from the 90s. So we already looked at the very first web page and we saw it was just a bunch of links. If you thought that was shocking, here's what Wikipedia looked like in 2001, a few years after HTML was invented. So that's Wikipedia, guys. It makes me want to just click out of that as quickly as possible.
Those were my days when I started coding.
Yes, and we thought this was state of the art.
Wow.
This was it.
It's a link.
Yeah, how could it get better than this? But right now it's causing me like stress and anxiety. But what I thought would be fun is for you to explore the history of your favorite website using the Web Design Machine or the Wayback Machine. So let me just show you the Web Design Museum. This is really cool. It gives you a timeline of any of these famous companies, and it shows you what their website, like let's say Netflix. I'm like obsessed with Netflix right now. This is what Netflix looked like in 2002. And then it gives you a bar at the top where you can explore it at different, so this is what it looks like today. Big difference, right? But you can explore the different years. So that's something I just discovered, the Web Design Museum. I'm more familiar with the Wayback Machine, which is also super cool. And what you do is you copy a link to a website. These Zoom tools are still bothering me. Like it's so hard to do. Okay, let me go to netflix.com. So you copy. Go to your website, a current website that you're interested in. Like I put in my school district just to see that. Hilarious. Copy and paste the URL and then paste it here at the top. And then it'll again give you a history, but it'll show it to you in this format where it gives you a timeline and it gives you calendars that you can click. So you can see the same thing eventually, but you just have to dig a little deeper. 2001. So why don't we go ahead and try this? I want to give you time, like I said, give you time to try out things after I've shown it to you. Mine is taking a while to load, but try it out. So again, that was slide.
Yeah, the links are in the chat. Slide 23 links are in the chat for the Web Design Museum and the Wayback Machine.
Yep. And let me know if you're having any trouble with what I showed you. I don't know why it's not showing it for me this time. The Wayback Machine usually works well too. Maybe I went too far back. And I also use the Wayback Machine as a tool. So in my portfolio, I wanted to show the development of my personal website that I made, but I wanted to capture that point in time to show my progress at that point. Since then, I've, of course, as I've grown as a developer, I've added things to it, but I really wanted to show on GitHub what I did as a project, this very first time of making my website portfolio. And so I put my own website into Wayback Machine, and then I was able to copy the URL from the top and post that in GitHub so that whenever anybody goes to my GitHub and reads about this very first time I made my website, they can see what it looked like. And then I can also put a link, like here's what it looks like now, how it's changed. I'm not sure why this didn't work for me. 7 captures. Is Wayback Machine working for you?
Yep.
Okay, good. Any reactions? Did anybody see anything surprising or funny that you want to share?
I was just on CNN.com in 2001. It's pretty basic.
Very funny.
Looking for a website I coded probably, I don't know, 99, but I'm not sure if I can find it. So looking.
Oh, your own.
Yeah, I worked on the project on like the back end of it, but I don't know if I'm not seeing anything popping up.
So you put it into the Wayback Machine, or you're looking for the link to it?
Yeah, I put it in the Wayback Machine, and okay, so there it's showing a snapshot on April 2nd, 2001.
Whoa.
I'm trying to see if it'll load anything, but oh. Yeah, it came up.
It's kind of like when you find that old cell phone in a drawer and you're like, what is this? How did I even use this, right? Surprising. We kind of forget where we were.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it looks like Michelle looked up Amazon and there must be a huge difference.
Yes. Yes. So you see, what we're learning today might change, and I will say this, what we're learning today will change. So we have to keep up with it, you know. But HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And it is basically what we use to structure a website. So HTML is a language that allows us to build the structure, kind of like when you see a house in the framing stage. When you look at blueprints, you have designated areas for where to put things, you know, but there's nothing in there yet. It's just containers, just a bunch of containers. And so those containers in HTML are called elements, and they provide the blueprint for a web page. And this is what HTML looks like under the hood. So you see there are lots of tabbed indentations. That's called nesting. It's very important. And someone was saying that they are interested in dry, you know, making their code dry, which means, you know, succinct and easy to read. And so, you know, that's very important. I'm not the best at that. But yeah, there are tools to help us with that as well. Speaking of our tools, we have web browser tools such as Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, which we're all on right now. We're looking at a web browser that interprets HTML. So you need HTML, you need CSS, and these days you also need JavaScript to make a current modern website. And these web browsers we send packets of this information to them and they interpret it. And we also have editors that you can download to your computer. And this is more of what you do if you're going to be doing coding on a regular basis. So Visual Studio Code, Atom, and Sublime Text are examples of that. We're going to be using Visual Studio Code today. And there are online editors like Replit, CodePen, and Sandbox. If you don't want to download Visual Studio Code, you can use one of these as an alternative. And these are also useful as a tool too. For me, it's easy to like present my website because once you put it on Visual Studio Code, only you see it unless you upload it to some place like GitHub or some other hosting site. But these, you can just copy and paste what you did from Visual Studio Code into one of these. And then you can also look at your work on your phone because that's important. I subscribe to the philosophy that's current right now of mobile first. More and more people are looking at these websites on their phones and mobile devices than as opposed to their computer screens. And so we really need to keep in mind what this looks like on a phone first, and then go backwards and design it to look nice on a computer. And these tools help you to quickly kind of assess that. And here are some more tools that you will be using in more advanced, when you get more and more advanced. You know, I mentioned GitHub. Also, I use the command line to communicate with GitHub. On a Mac, it's called the terminal. So these are just some more things you can use. Also, there are frameworks. So people make things easier for us and kind of put together a menu of all of the different CSS that you could do. So you don't have to code every little thing. You could kind of get these packages of pre-created things such as grids and columns. You know, those columns and rows are a big thing with some of these frameworks. But it's good to learn the basics first so you understand what those frameworks are doing. And that's why we don't learn frameworks first. We just learn how to code for ourselves. So working with code editors, they're really good. I'm not going to read through all of these slides, but they have a lot of good features that help us. You can add in some extra things to make it easier to follow. They'll show you errors that you're making if you take time to read the little messages that they tell you, which sometimes I forget to do. They're good for more complex projects than using those online editors. And yeah, we're going to put some extensions in there, and you can even customize the visual experience, make them lighter or darker, you know, if you're for whatever your particular needs are. So let's develop it right away. Let's download and install Visual Studio Code. Or if you have a different editor that you would like to choose, you can do that. First of all, does anyone have it already on your computer? Can you let us know? Thumbs up if you already have.
I think I do. I'm just checking. I think I installed it.
Oh, okay, great.
I downloaded it just before the meeting, but I don't know. I'm not oriented in it yet.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk you through it as best I can. Marki, I would like if you could help out with that too, because although I use it, the setting it up part, you know, it's been a while for me.
Sure. Hopefully I remember too. It's been a while, but I'll tell you, it's my favorite code editor. So
Oh yes.
yeah.
All right. Let me know, Michelle, if you need help with downloading Visual Studio Code, or maybe you already have it on your machine. Now, when I pull mine up, it will have the code for this slideshow. So it's kind of funny. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, Michelle says she has it and she's got her index HTML and style CSS all ready to go.
Excellent. All right, great. All right. So Martinette, you said you have it, but have you been able to open it? And Marta, you said you have it too, possibly?
I have, yes, I have it, and it's open because I was looking at some JSON files for work with some of our developers a couple months ago. So that's why I have it, but I have not used it to code. So I just have a bunch of data from
Don't worry, we're gonna take it nice and slow. So
okay.
first I'm gonna X out. Another thing with me, I haven't been on here in so long. It's a long story, but I took a break from coding for a while and entered the world of retail, which I see is definitely not for me. I was a cashier for a while, and through all that, because I just retired from teaching, and I got a little nervous, like, what am I going to do for money? Without thinking about, you know, hey, you got a little pension coming in. You don't have to do retail. There's other things you could do to supplement that. But anyway, for a few months, I wasn't coding. And when I came back on here, it's like I had to call my son, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? So definitely practice regularly. Do you see where I am at the bottom here? Do you see the icon? Okay. If you right click on that, a menu comes up and you could do new window. So that will open up, because you said you have other projects going on. So we want to open up a new Visual Studio Code window and X out of that old project. All right, just let me know if you're where I am. Maybe give me a thumbs up or a little message to let me know if you're on this page. Great. All right. And the next thing we want to do is add some extensions that might help us. So on slide 30, here we go. Slide 39. You can actually just copy and paste each of these. I don't know if I even have all of these myself, but see how I highlighted one and I go back to Visual Studio Code, and then here where you see these building blocks on the left, it says extensions. These are things that will help to organize, like it'll automatically do things like automatically organize your code for you. I think this first one is Prettier, which is supposed to do that. Yes, Prettier. So I have it installed already. If you click it on the right side, it'll give you more detail of what this code does. You can spend time and just read through this area and it explains exactly what this does. And if you decide this is something you want to try, then you can click install. And it also explains here, you can always come back here if you forget what this extension does and read the features, how to use it. It gives you a lot of information. Okay. Let me know if you were able to find the prettier extension, or if you're having trouble, let us know.
And I put the link for slide 39 in the chat, so you can go directly to the slide rather than having to, search through it to find it. So if anybody needs that, it's right there in the chat.
Yeah, just copy and paste it instead of trying to type all of this. Oops. What did I do?
And I'm sorry, where do we paste it? I'm being, let's see.
Oh, so on the all the way on the left, you see these building blocks.
Oh yeah, right there. Okay.
So it takes you to, it's like a store, where you can.
Oh, I found it. Okay,
Yep.
got it.
You just take it.
Awesome. And then you can decide if you want, so that's just for the formatter for your, I gotcha.
Mhm,
To
yeah,
format your code to see if you like that one and try the other ones to see which one you like. Is that what you're saying?
well, this one, I thought what it did was, let me see here. It's an opinionated code formatter. It enforces a consistent style by parsing your code and reprinting it with its own rules that take the maximum line length into account, wrapping as necessary. So what it will do is it kind of cleans up your code, with all of that nesting I was talking about.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But for some reason, I haven't been able to get it to work. If you have a problem like me where you are on the wrong slide, just go to the top and you can type in the slide you want. So 39, I'm just going to type in 39 at the end of the URL. Because right now, I don't know, somehow I went back to the beginning slide and I want to get to slide 39. So you see how on top at the end of the URL, I typed 39. And that brings me back here. This is where I want it to be. Oh, I did it again. Is anybody else having that trouble where it's like you're trying to copy it and it's taking you back to another slide? Or is it good? Like it's okay. I think because I'm pressing something. I'm pressing my shift key. It doesn't like that. And so some of these extensions will do things like automatically type your your closing tag. When you start typing your, well, we'll learn more about HTML later, but your opening and closing tags, it'll automatically complete it for you. Oh, I didn't have this one. And there are many, many more extensions you might learn about on your own and decide to load. They're very useful. One of the things we'll be talking about is something called the boilerplate. And there is an extension that will automatically generate this template that goes on the top of your code that you don't really have to type out by hand. So it'll automatically give you a good updated one. I think I have that one installed already.
Yeah, that one is definitely super helpful. It's just the exclamation point that gives you all the doc type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
What's that one called? Is it HTML boilerplate?
Say that again.
What is the boilerplate one called that you were talking about? That's helpful. Is it just HTML boilerplate?
The one that I found, let me see if I could see it and show it to you. Does this tell you what I already have? It was called HTML5, I think. It was hard to find. Because that's the version of HTML that the most modern version. Boilerplate. I wish this would give me a list of all the ones I have installed. I'm sure it does it some way.
If you go there right at the top
Yeah.
of where you are now, so those are like that, and then if you click on the dots, then you can see show running extensions.
Ah, thank you. Ah, yes, but I did find it by just typing boilerplate. I think it was this one,
Nice. Okay.
HTML boilerplate, and it generates this code that goes at the top of every website. And there are lots of boilerplates, basically, you know, in different languages too, that you just want to always have on hand. Thank you for showing me that. All right, how are we doing as far as installing these? On the next slide are some other optional ones to look at. I'm not going to install those right now. I'll just make sure I have the basic ones. Oh, I already have that one. All right, let me know when you're ready for the next step, which is to create a folder. Maybe give me a thumbs up or in the chat, maybe the thumb
Ready?
emoji. All right, Marky, this is where I might have trouble because I don't create my folders in Visual Studio Code. I actually use my terminal to do that. And so I'm really not sure. Is it open folder?
I tend to also not create mine in VS Code. Usually I either make them directly where I want them or through the terminal, one or the other, simply because I have found that it works better that way. Yeah, so I think the open folder you can search through, yeah, so through VS Code's terminal, absolutely, you can create one that way.
Okay.
But you can open any folder through the open folder. So
why don't we do that then? Why don't we go to on your machine, go to your files. Now you see all stuff in my computer, but maybe go to your desktop and create a folder. So for me, I'm on a Mac. I can right click and it says new folder. And then you can name it something. Web Essentials. Web Design Essentials. That's our course, right? So
Yes.
let me know, are you on your desktop right now? Were you able to create a folder on your desktop? Oh, great. Okay. And then now when you go back to Visual Studio Code and press open folder, you should be able to find it on your desktop. Sorry, my Mac is so slow. Sometimes okay. So let's see, oh, desktop. See how you can navigate to your desktop through Visual Studio Code and then select that folder and then click open. Great. Now we want to click new file and it says select file type or enter file name. So we will put HTML. And I think it wants us to name it. So why don't we call it practice? And once we start using HTML, it will recognize it as an HTML file and start getting colorful and help us out. All right. So the first thing, like I said, is about the boilerplate. So yeah, we're going to need a boilerplate that communicates to the browser certain things, but we're not going to start out with a boilerplate. I wanted to just start out seeing what HTML is all about. You know, like how does it really work? Does it really need a boilerplate at all? This mysterious boilerplate thing. So a lot of times, web developers, when they're starting out, they like to say hello world. That kind of says, hey, I'm new, you know, I'm just starting out. So why don't we type that, hello world. Whatever way you want to do that. And then save. I always hold Command and then press S or Control S to save. And that'll save it. And now, going back to our browser, let's see what happens. I'm gonna split my screen. I know.
So I don't see where you type that. I'm in my folder. New file. Do I do new file? Did I miss that?
Oh, okay. After you made your folder,
Yeah.
you made it separately, right? On your
Yeah.
desktop.
Yes.
Can you go back to Visual Studio Code?
Yes, I'm in there. Mhm.
And then they should have given you an option over to the right, new file, to create a new file. If not,
Yes.
all right.
Yes, I see it. Okay.
Okay, so click that.
Okay. So,
Just name. Oh, it's going to ask you what type of file, type HTML,
okay.
and then
All right.
another way to make new files is when you click web design over on the left, they give you options for creating files and folders with the little icons and the plus sign. So once you
Okay.
create that first one. All right, so now going back to our web browser, I split my screen so that I could kind of drag this tab over. Okay, not big enough. So I'm going to drag my practice tab because I named my file practice. I'm going to drag it over and see what happens. Okay, look at that. You see, it says hello world in the browser. You try it. Let me know if you run into trouble. Yes, I like the little icon, thumbs up. Thank you. Now that I learned that little tip of just dragging the tab over, I forget how, there's another way to display the website in a browser. I mean, to display your code in the browser. I forget though.
If you go to the actual file on your desktop where you have the web design essentials and you click on the HTML file, it will open straight into your browser.
Yes, thank you. That was the way I used to do it. So you could, thank you, Marki. You could drag your tab straight over into your web browser, or you can go back to your desktop, open up your web design folder, and then click. I used to right click and click open, and you can even choose what browser you want to open it with. Should have had the browsers there, but just open and it'll also open it that way. Or do you just double click? Is that a brow? Oh, it opened it in text editor for me.
It's probably because you already have it open in your browser.
Okay.
Unless you're opening it in a separate browser, it's probably just gonna open the text editor.
All right. Okay, I know we didn't get much done, but we're going to take a little 5-minute break and come back and really start working in this. This should be exciting though that we have it all set up. All right, so let's take a 5-minute break. I think it's important, you know, to step away from your computer, especially when you get frustrated. Just take a little breather. So I'm going to turn my screen off and I recommend you do the same, but I am nearby. If you need me, you can just call me and I'll set a timer for 5 minutes. Okay. All right, everyone. I hope you had a good little stretch or whatever it is to help you get refreshed and get back ready to do some coding now. All right, so again, I wanted to just see whether or not we need this boilerplate thing that I was talking about before, whether we need HTML at all, because it seems like we can make a website by just typing here, right? Hello World did appear in the browser. All right, just let me know if you are back with us. Looks like we lost somebody.
Martha said that she had to go, but she was going to try to listen in as she was driving.
Ah,
So, yeah.
okay. So Martinette and Michelle, it's all on you. And we'll go at your pace. Marky, thank you for checking the chat. I haven't even looked at it. You really spoil me because I don't look at it.
That's fine. Yeah, I've got it open here and, just trying to keep track of it. So no problem.
Thank you. And just to let you know, students, I'm not going to display every single slide. So, but I am talking about what's on every slide. So you can either keep looking at it on your own screen if that's, if that's your learning style, or you can always reference it later. But I'll only show certain slides at certain times. So you might be wondering, like, why is she skipping that? It's not that I'm skipping it. It's that I want us to code and not get focused too much on the slideshow. So let's continue working here. So just think of any random topic. It's not important what you put in it at this point. It's more about learning about these containers or elements. So a topic I've chosen before is just about Earth. So I'm going to start typing a little composition here. Welcome to my webpage about Earth. Okay, and web page, I think 2 words. All right, and then I also want to say what I love about Earth. My typing is terrible. It's our home, for example. You can just copy what I'm typing here, or you can come up with your own little lines, whatever interests you. I probably won't want to space there. Now I'm going to save this. And when I go back over to the website, I'm going to click the refresh arrow or Command R or Control R on my keyboard. Oh, this did not go the way I thought it would, Marky. I thought it was going to all come on one line. When we did this with the code editor, it didn't format it. And so my whole purpose of doing this is not really helpful because it was supposed to all just go on one line to show that you need to put these things in containers. But I guess this Visual Studio Code is so good, and all of this, the extensions that we downloaded help to format it anyway. So I'm sorry, my whole point is destroyed right now.
If you tried it in Replit, it might come out a little bit differently, but it's parsing it really well. So it looks beautiful, even though you haven't formatted it.
Right. And so it's kind of like the editor is recognizing that I want to make this into HTML and is communicating that to the web browser, which is actually pretty cool. But what we really want to do, like maybe I want to make this really stand out, the hello world part. And so when we are thinking about this as far as HTML and putting it into a container, we would want to make a container for that. So let me head back over to the slideshow, but you don't have to go to the slideshow at this point yet. And I just want to show you some things more about those containers. Just move this out of the way. Okay. All right, so again, the containers are called elements. And here's an example of an individual component or element of HTML. So this is a paragraph element, and this is what it looks like up close. And then even closer look will give us the anatomy of it. So what we have at the beginning and the end are called tags, and the tags contain characters that indicate the tag's purpose. So that's why the P is there in these tags to show that it's a paragraph. And so really close up, we have the tags, opening and closing tags, and then in between is where we put our content. This button here gives you a list of HTML elements. So if we click that, we can read more about it. Again, it's really important, this reading part. I know it takes time, but as a developer, especially when you're working on your own, it's really, really good to read, especially if you're stuck on something, to read what it is that we're dealing with. So this website is called MDM Web Docs. And there's another one that a lot of people use, W3 Schools, that will just give you more information on whatever you're looking for. And this gives you a bunch of different elements that would go on an HTML document. And over on the side here, you can learn more about each one. It'll take you to a page that'll tell you even more. And I like MDM because it shows you examples, real live examples that you can actually try out. You can change the code here and see what happens on the other side. Okay, so we're not going to read this one too much right now, but I just wanted to, bring that to your attention. And you can always look at this later on when you want to come up with different elements to put on in your HTML. And there are also elements that don't need a closing tag, like these here, and we'll be using most of these today. And so more about the nesting and indentation that we saw earlier. You can think of those Russian nesting dolls, where our code is kind of nested within each element. So we have an HTML element that would be the biggest doll, right? It contains all of the other little dolls. And so here's a little quiz that we can do. You don't have to actually answer it, or you can answer in the chat, or just think about it yourself. What are the different elements and how are they nested here? So we have our huge HTML element, and then what do you see inside it? I'll give you a minute to check that out on my screen. All right. So you see, oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Martin.
Oh no, I was just going to say, you see the header, and the title is within the header. And then separate from the header, you have the body and a paragraph inside the body, and everything sits inside the HTML container.
Yep, exactly. So we have two elements nested inside HTML, the head and the body elements. And then within each of those is another element, the title and the paragraph. Great. And so the one that opens first always closes last. All right, so let's develop it. We're going to develop a basic practice page about a topic of choice and include all of these HTML elements. And this directions are on slide 47 if you want to keep that tab open just to reference it. And we'll be using something called Pixabay images today, but we'll also learn how to download and use your own images. And there are so many other websites. I just recommend Pixabay because you can use Creative Commons images from there, and you don't have to give credit in every case to the creators. They allow you to reuse them. You just have to read what they allow. But for practicing, you can use whatever image you want, even if it's just something you found on another website or on Google. It's just mainly for production that you don't want to infringe on anyone's copyright. All right, so I think now what I'm going to do is head back over to my Visual Studio Code and display that. And on my other device, I'm sorry, what slide was that again?
So you were just on 47.
Thank you.
And Michelle's making a good observation in the chat that the title shows up on the tab of your HTML doc, which is definitely true. So be careful what you title your document because it will definitely show up there. So just like Faraja shows up with practice.
It already came. Wait a minute. How did that happen?
Well, yours, I think because you titled your you don't have the head, you don't have all the header in there. So you titled yours practice, so it's showing up. But if you have the title, whatever you put in the title shows up on the tab.
Yeah, but we're going to be able to change that tab once we add the boilerplate back in. But yeah, that's a good observation for sure. So, sorry, I'm just trying to get where okay. So what we just tried to do is format basically and add everything, create a structure, but we didn't use containers. And it's important with HTML to put everything in those containers, again, because it's the structure of the website. So let's try that now. In that document with the list of HTML elements, this is where I'm getting these from. I'm not making them up, but let's put a header, wait. Heading, because we have the head, we have a header, and we have headings in HTML, and I always get them confused. So right now we're going to add a heading, and let's put the hello world between two heading tags. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do it on the website. You need to do it in Visual Studio Code. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And before the H in hello world, start typing the less than sign on your keyboard and then H1 and then the greater than sign. And you see that it will automatically give you the closing tag. And between these two is a space for us to type something. And so let's copy and paste hello world. So Command X or Control X. And then between the H1, oh, do you see how it turned blue? You see how the H1 turned blue? It's because now the browser's starting to recognize that we're actually using HTML. And then Command V to paste our content and then save. Now if we head, okay, I'm sorry, let me know. Are you able to do it? Good, okay. And then we head back over to the browser and refresh. For me, I'm just gonna do Command R. Uh-oh, oh, I'm sorry, this is not working the way it did before in the in the web browser one. But yeah, so we're gonna need our boilerplate, right? Because it's not showing, it's not doing anything yet without the boilerplate. So I'm gonna skip a little bit. Let's skip to slide. It's slide number 61. Could everybody go to slide 61? Because this slide gives us this reusable template for creating websites with cross-browser compatibility. And this will actually tell the website, look, we are using HTML and we want you to structure the web page according to it. And this will also help it to look good on whatever device. Now, this needs to go at the top of every HTML file, but you don't have to type it all out. It's a template. So you could either copy here from my my slide using this icon, or if you loaded the HTML5 extension, you can use that. So I'm just going to model copying it from the slide. And then in line 1, go back to line 1 before your H1, press enter a couple of times, and then back in line 1, that's where we'll paste that boilerplate. So a little bit more about the boilerplate. So it's made up of a bunch of different elements.
So Michelle's also saying that you can use the dev tools to demonstrate when you don't have the boilerplate, how to use the different elements, which is true. I think at some point you have in your, I'm sorry, in your presentation, if not today, but another one of the classes to use the dev tools, correct, Faraja?
All right, so I'm sorry, for creating the boilerplate, or what? I'm sorry, what?
No, Michelle was just saying, like, when you typed in the H1 and it showed up with the H1 tags on the actual, on the browser, that you can open up the dev tools and you can use the console there to demonstrate how to do that without necessarily putting in the boilerplate. But once you've got the boilerplate in VS Code, obviously that's going to work. But you already are going to show the dev tools later on, correct?
Dev tool. I'm just like, I'm so flustered right now.
From the browser. I think it's somewhere in your presentation.
Oh, right. So you're talking about these,
yeah.
Okay, inspect tool and the view page source.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, we're going to look at that, but I was going to save that for CSS. But you're saying there's a way to look at it, to look at what we just did through that.
That's what Michelle's putting in the chat here.
Okay, that's cool. So Michelle, you're using the inspect tool to like look at what we did. I know what you're talking about. I used that for JavaScript. When I was learning JavaScript, we did everything in the inspect tool and you could see the results right in there. So yeah, that is good, but that would be a whole other course to use that. So I'm not gonna try to do that now, because right now what I'm trying to do honestly is get my notes in line with what I'm trying to say, because I, at the last minute, decided to go ahead and use the Visual Studio Code right away, rather than use the online editor. And now everything is just thrown off, because in my mind, it was supposed to look a certain way and do a certain thing, and it didn't. Let me just explain a little more about the boilerplate, and then we're going to use it to help us here. So boilerplate, the first thing on an HTML plate is the doc type. So up here, you see the doc type, and it tells the browser which version of the markup language the page is using. So in this case, HTML. And then after the doc type, the page content must be contained within HTML tags. So that's the biggest container. See, it's at the beginning, at the end here, and within it, we have the head element. And the head element includes the meta tags. So here are the meta tags. And so these tell the browser what character set to use and how the web page should be presented to the visitors or the users. And the head can also contain lots of other information, such as this, the title. And we can change this now if we want to change our topic. So I'm going to put here Earth. And this is another important thing here. The link href. So that will link us to a style sheet. So when we do our CSS, whatever we put here is very important. We're going to add that file over here to the side in our folder and eventually connect it to the HTML. And we would need this link here to communicate to the browser. Okay, I want you to look at the CSS file and apply it. You can also put things here such as your Google fonts and lots of other information if you want to add things, or, you know, like when you start working with frameworks, you put all that information in the head to let the browser know where you're getting your styling from. And even JavaScript, things with JavaScript, linking to those files would go in there as well. All right, so that's what I wanted to tell you that. Oh, and then so the body element, we have the head and the body basically. And I think this can close. Yes, you can close it or open it. And when you close not HTML, I wanted to close the head so that you could see within HTML, we have the head and the body tags. So we just looked at what's in the head. And now for the body tag, let's put in what we were trying to type. And then hopefully we can see it formatted. So Command or Control X, and then go between the two body tags. So at the end of the opening tag, press Enter, and then Command or Control V, and then save. And let's head back over to our tab and refresh. Oh, it still didn't work. What am I doing wrong?
Your practice file, if you put the .html on the end of the file name, that's how you're going to get it to take all the information out. That's copying directly what you've got in VS Code because you don't have the file name with the .html at the end.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed. Again, I haven't been using, I don't set it up this way. So it's kind of like, I would have set it up totally different and certain things happen automatically. So let's see.
Faraja, I think this is actually interesting because what you're seeing is that without naming the file with that .html ending, it's taking directly everything that you've got in VS Code and putting it on the page, which is pretty cool, you know? So you can see that it's rendering the information. It's just doing it not exactly the way that you were expecting it, you know, and that it's just these small little things that sometimes will trip somebody up. And they're like, well, then what did I do wrong? Right. And so It's good to make mistakes because that's how, you know, we find out, and that's how we teach people too. you know,
like Michael Jackson used to say, that's what practice is for. But don't do that when you're performing because then you get fired. But okay, so should I head back over to the desktop and rename my file, make sure that it's HTML as an extension?
You can rename it right in VS Code if you click on practice, and usually if you do a right click, you should be able to rename it. I don't know if yours is going to let you. I do it all the time because I'm good at naming files the way I don't want them named, and then I think, oh, I should have done this a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you do it in your I can usually do it in VS Code, but.
All right, well, let me know how you're doing. Oh, and Francine, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And whatever you missed is in the recording. Right now, we're working in Visual Studio Code to create, just to do a little practice. And I'm sorry, I'm very rusty with setting things up the way I'm showing you because I do it usually a different way. HTML.
And Francine, we're going to have some practice time at the end too. So if there's anything that you feel like you missed, you know, just hang in there and we're happy to help you out when we do breakout rooms if you're having trouble following along.
If you want to unmute and turn your camera on, please feel free, and you can introduce yourself, or we can wait for later for that.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for attending late. Having a little technical issues, but thanks. And I think you're doing great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What I had to do, because this file that's here in Visual Studio Code is the old one with the wrong name. So I'm going to X out of that. And it did update it with the new name. So now let's see if that will work. But yes, we pasted we're working within the body tags of our boilerplates. Now let me see, I'm going to click out of this file on my browser and instead drag and drop the practice one. Oh, okay. Oh, Marki, I'm so glad you're here.
You can help.
And now, okay, so we see that what I was trying to say before, you see how I tried to leave a space between welcome to my webpage and what I love about Earth, it's our home. I tried to format it a little bit. You can't do that without the containers. And now we can clearly see that. So let's add some more containers or HTML elements to this part to get it the way we want it to look. And so let's add 2 paragraph tags. And if you type just the letter P and tab, let's see what happens. No, it doesn't happen here. All those extensions and it doesn't work. But just do it the same way we did before. The less than symbol, the letter P, that's the P, and then the greater than, and it'll automatically give you your closing tag and copy what you want to put in that paragraph. Copy and, cut and paste. So Command X, Command V, or Control X, Control V. And then when you save this, Command or Control S, and then refresh, Command or Control R. Now we have a little bit more separation. And another thing I didn't mention is that with that H1, it made it a little tiny bit formatted, right? Just to give us the idea that this is a heading and it's a little bit bigger and bolder. So you do get a little bit of styling in HTML. Before, they used to do all the styling in HTML. And then they decided to separate and do styling in CSS. And that's much better to do it that way because it's easier to change. But let's explore the H1 a little bit. Let's change it in our VS Code from H1 to H2 and see what happens. So our headings have a hierarchy that is semantic based. And so I'm saving this and coming over and refreshing. Oh, okay, so H2 makes a smaller heading. And if you were to go all the way up to H6, you'll see that the headings get smaller and smaller. So, you know, when you're writing an article, for example, oh, one thing I do like about this, when I change the tag, the opening tag, the closing tag automatically updates too. But anyway, it's hierarchy based. So it's not about the 6 doesn't mean it's bigger. It's actually smaller. It makes the headings smaller and smaller. And just like in an article, there are certain rules about how many headings and things that you need. It's the same thing. You're only really supposed to have one H1 and then use the H2s and on in a hierarchical manner. And you don't have to worry about styling your H1s. You don't have to say, well, I want my heading to be smaller. So instead of an H1, I'm going to use an H6 because you want that H1. It's important for the hierarchy. So instead you can style it, make it bigger, smaller, change the color, change the font using CSS. So I'm going to change mine back to H1 because I like that effect. Oh, I forgot that it automatically changes the closing tag. All right, now let's try something else. I would like for the It's Our Home, I would like that to be a list. Let's make that into a list format. And to do that, we can use something called UL. So again, open bracket, and you can put opening and closing bracket and then go back and type in what you want. And I'm going to put UL for unordered list. Maybe not do it that way because I like how it completed it for me. Does anybody else have it autocomplete? I thought one of those extensions would make it better, easier. UL.
I think when you have text already on the line and you go to put your tags, it's not auto completing. But if you were to go a line up and just type in UL, it would probably autocomplete, you know, on the blank line, and then
me
you
try
can just cut and paste.
Another thing while you were talking, yes, it did do that. So yeah, that's great. But another thing while you were talking, I noticed, which is very important, when you are doing things in the browser, it gives you information. And sometimes it's easy to ignore that because it's like, so you see how this box comes up? This gives us a lot of information that can be helpful. So UL, you see, it tells you what the UL is, and it gives you a link to the MDN reference, that website that we were looking at before, if you want to learn more about it. And here is another thing. Let's see if that will autocomplete it. I clicked it wrong. What is happening? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just fix something here. Okay, I'm starting over. UL. All right, so there's this little thing here, and if I click it, let's see what happens. Nothing. All right. So I think like Marki said, if you wanted to have it autocomplete, you can go up to the line above and type it on a blank line and it'll autocomplete. So if I just type UL, and then tab, it'll do the whole thing for me. And then I can copy and paste what I want inside there. But I don't want to copy and paste yet, because within the UL, we want to make lines. This is just the container basically that's going to hold our lines. When you go to the end of your opening tab and press enter, it already indents for you because it's expecting you to put some other containers nested within that UL. All right, and that the first container will be LI. So type LI for line and then tab, and that's where we'll put it's our home. And then at the end of LI, the closing LI, if I press enter again, it's still typed, it's expecting me to put another line. So it's indented under the UL, nested within there, LI. And here I will type, what did I say? I said, oh, it's designed for us. So our Earth is designed for us. It's LI tab, another, and you see how it automatically puts you between the opening and closing tag. That's nice. So then you can just type right in there. It's blue. How are we doing? Are we doing this? Are we together? It's round.
All right, Michelle says she's doing great.
Okay, good.
Hey, Martinette and Francine, let us know.
Yeah, Francine,
I mean,
it might be a little hard to catch up. Go
I
ahead,
feel
Mark.
like I'm a little bit lost, like just like from being like process and best practices and why we're doing what. And and I'm not seeing what you're seeing. So yeah.
Okay, please elaborate. Let me see if I can answer some of your questions about best practices, of course, too, because that's very important.
Yeah, Michelle's asking, can she share her screen?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. It might be a great idea if you were to share your screen and we could take a look.
Okay, let me take mine off. But Martinette, while she's doing that, what's a concern you have about best practices?
So I understand. So like backing up all the way, like we have, so this is our like HTML practice page. And so we always need this boilerplate?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so we do always need the boilerplate. And then, and this is the standard boilerplate, like regardless of what you're working on?
Well, it's an HTML boilerplate.
Got it. Okay. And so for any HTML, you're going to use the specific one.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And you can, I on the bottom of that boilerplate slide is a link to, oh boy, I don't remember exactly where I got that from.
Free Code Camp. I can grab that and put it into the chat.
Mhm. If you wanted to learn more about that boilerplate, but this one is HTML5, and HTML5, like I said, HTML is regulated by this consortium that makes sure that it's standard wherever you go. And so right now we're on version 5 of HTML, and this boilerplate matches that.
Okay. And then as far as spaces go in your code, is it important to have like what you're spacing on your screen, that we space it exactly the same?
It is good. Like, for example, on my screen, I noticed after I stopped sharing it that my H1 is tabbed under the body, but my paragraph and UL were not. So basically, like I'm saying, the body tag is the big container or the big element, and everything has to be nested within it. And the last thing I showed you was not right. It was not. My paragraph and my unordered list were at the same hierarchy as the body tab, and it shouldn't be. That's something I need to fix.
Okay. Okay. So double check that that's indented. And if something's not indented, you can just tab it, or?
Yeah. I'm gonna just highlight whatever I want to indent, all of it, and then press the tab key once. Or you can, if you want to go and indent the other way, indent back, you can hold Shift and press tab, and it'll indent it the other way.
Okay.
And then the prettier is supposed to fix that, but I don't know how to do it, to be honest. I never really explored it. It used to work for me, but it's not working now. Like, the prettier is supposed to automatically clean up your code. Marki, have you ever used anything that would clean up the code automatically for you? I know people do that.
I know I have Prettier installed. It never seems to work quite right for me, so I just generally go through and tab things the way I like them. So, but sometimes I leave a little bit of space between different sections as well, just because to me, it's easier to read, but it's not going to show a space necessarily on the web page when you leave a blank line or something in your code. So
I'm sorry. That whole time I thought that I had stopped sharing so that Michelle could share. I'm going to take it off for a minute, but let me just show you what I mean. So see how H1 is under the body tag, right? And it's indented. The paragraph and the UL should also be indented. So I'm going to highlight everything and then press tab. And now that's correct. Okay. And now I'm sorry, all that time I thought I had taken my, I had stopped sharing. Okay, Michelle, can you share yours now?
I think it was Martinette. Martinette, did you want to share yours?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought it was Michelle.
Michelle made the suggestion in the chat. That's
Okay.
That's why.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Get this guy up here in front for everyone. And is it big enough?
Yeah. Well, for me it is.
Okay. And so I think like just comparing with what you had put in your code, I changed the title here to like hello visitors.
Yep.
And then I have H2 like in the body. I guess this is where this is incorrect, because the title should be H2, right?
No. The title, all that will do is change your tab. It will change what appears in the tab.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's the tab, and then this is my header, essentially. But I guess it has to be after body. After head, as opposed to after body.
Okay, there was something I forgot to explain. So whatever is in the head is not seen by the user. That's information for the browser only.
Oh,
but
I see.
whatever is within the body tags is what actually gets put on the web page. That's visible.
I see. Okay.
So the only thing we changed that's visible basically is the
Mhm.
title in the head tag, and it's visible though in the tab on your browser.
Gotcha.
So you want
Okay.
to, before you stop sharing, can you save
Mhm.
the, or do you want to change your hierarchy too? Do you want to move your paragraph and your unordered list over like I did?
Over. What do you mean move it
So just
over?
highlight the paragraph
Okay.
all the way down to UL, the closing UL. Yep. And
Okay.
then press your tab key.
Okay.
Great. And so now
Gotcha.
everything is
I see.
indented
Mhm.
properly. All right, and then save. It'll still work without that. And a lot of people work in a very messy setting.
Mm.
Like me, sometimes after a while, it gets kind of messy. All right, now refresh this.
So this is
Oh,
what
you
I'm
know why?
getting.
Because you're still working. That's just the old file. Let's X out of this and then drag over your new file. Remember after we named it HTML? So you have two. You have the old practice one. You're still working in that. Hold on. Copy and paste everything though.
Oh, this one. Oh, I see what you mean.
Oh, wait.
So copy and
Copy
paste.
and paste into that.
Alrighty. And then like that, and then save. And then if I drag this one,
Yes. Yay,
woohoo,
look at that.
awesome. Okay,
Now
that
look
makes
at your
sense to me.
tab. Look at your tab. See? Highlight over your tab again. You'll see how when you change the title, it's all the way to the right, all the way down. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
there. Oh, okay. Nice.
Yes. So that when we say title, it's confusing, but that's the title that changes from the head.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I feel like I'm caught up now.
Okay. Great. All right. So what else did I want to show you? Okay. So I'm gonna.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
All right, piggybacking off the title, is that when you're searching for a page, is that what shows up in your search result, the title? Like in Google?
Oh, that's a really good question because now we're talking about a
Or
topic.
maybe it depends, I guess, on the search engine.
Yeah, the SEOs they call them.
Yeah.
Engine. I forget what the O stands for. I'm not
Search
really
engine
sure.
optimization.
Optimization, right? So you're basically, I think your question is it important what you put there because it helps people to search better? I'm not really sure. What do you think, Marki? Is the
Well,
tab
one
part of
one
SEO?
way we could check that out would be if we were to choose a random web page and open up our inspect tools and take a look at what's in the title and compare.
Okay.
But I'm going to say in general, yes, that is pretty much what shows up. Although with the with SEO, a lot of that is up in the meta tags with what extra things that are placed in there to help rank
Okay.
the page a little bit better. But that's a really great question.
Yeah. I know when I did my blogging, they asked for information, and I guess they would put that in the meta tag, like an abbreviated description to help the SEOs. So, but I never thought about where that would be placed on the actual website. I kind of agree that, the meta tags is probably where they look at too. All right. If you find out more, can you share with us? Because we don't have all the answers, like.
Well, that's okay. I just randomly thought about it, but I think Marky made a good point.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm looking at, for example, DigitalOcean has some great pages sometimes. And so one of the pages I was looking at was how to change a CSS background image's opacity, because I was playing around with an image. And when I open up the developer tools, which might be inspect depending on which browser you're using, the title of the page is how to change a CSS background image's opacity. And then it's got a pipe. A pipe is like a line going straight up and down. And on your keyboard, that would be right above the backslash, which is probably right above your enter. And then it says DigitalOcean right next to it. So that's literally what it says. I'm going to copy and paste that into, let's see if I can copy and paste it into the chat for you all. And then I'll share the website with you so that you can see and for yourself. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. All right, I'm going to share mine again. And let's just look at a few other basic elements. So we did our, so we did our UL, but we didn't see the results. At least I didn't. So let me come over here and command R refresh. And there you have a nice unordered list. If you wanted to make it ordered, you could change the U to an O. So ordered list. And that will give you numbers instead of the bullet points. And another thing we can do is use two of those tags I was telling you about that. Oh wait, I never put my what I love about Earth into a paragraph. Did you notice that? Did you do it? That's important for also for styling later, because you're going to reference where your item is. You're going to have to tell your CSS, okay, I want you to look at all the paragraphs and change them to XYZ. And if your text is not in a paragraph, then it won't be able to find it. Okay, so it doesn't look much different when I do that. Oops. Okay. But it is important for the code to work. All right. Another thing we can put between the paragraph and the ordered list is a break. So this is one of those elements that is self-closing. It doesn't have an opening and closing tag, and it's BR. So BR. And that just gives us a little space between elements. Or we can make this something called a horizontal rule, HR, and it will give us a line. I like the horizontal rule because it can be styled as well, and you can really do a lot of creative things with it. In fact, we're going to be doing that with our projects. This is just practice. We don't really know about our project yet, but I think you're going to be excited when you see it. So some other important elements are M and strong. M and strong are meant to indicate emphasis and importance through style. So it's a little tiny bit of styling that we can get away with when using HTML. It will give us the italic font and the bold font, but only if you really want to indicate some type of meaning. If you're just doing it for styling reasons, then you should use, best practice is to use CSS to style. But let's, I want to emphasize a couple of words here and indicate importance. So how about the word, oops, perfectly? Did I write that? I didn't write it. I was supposed to write it's designed perfectly for us. Perfect. And I wanted to put that, make it italic. So I want to put M, EM. And I'm going to put perfectly between the M tags. See what that does. So you see how it makes it italicized. And then I'm going to make us in that same sentence bold by using strong. And then put the word us between the strong tags. All right, how are we doing? I'm giving you time to work on that and let me know if it works for you. Okay, I see Mark.
Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat that we've got some, thumbs up and fist bumps and that kind of
Yay.
thing. Yeah.
It is really exciting. It's like when you first do this for the first time, it's like, wow, the power of it. And when you start realizing how creative you can be with this, you can do anything. It just, to me, it gives me a sense of empowerment. And when I first taught my little 8th graders how to do this, the reaction was so incredible. And my little son, because at the time he was a middle schooler, and look at him now, he's a software engineer. So he took what he learned as a middle schooler and just kept on and on with it. So yeah. And then the last thing we're going to do is, I think, the most exciting, and that is to insert an image. So let's move on to that. So
just really quickly before you do that, I do want to let you know we're coming up on 3 o'clock. So
Yeah.
maybe after you insert the image, it would be a good time for a break.
Great. Or maybe before and then come back and do it, because it might take a while to do that image. So why don't we take our break now, and then when we come back, we'll be nice and fresh and get ready, because it's a little more complicated than what we just did. So thank you for that reminder, Marki. Great. So Francine, I don't know if you were here during the last break, but we're just going to take a little 5-minute breather. We're all going to turn off our cameras and walk away. But if you need me, I'm right nearby. I'm just in the same room. Just want to step away from my screen, kind of decompress a little bit and get ready for the next hour. And I'll put on a timer. Okay, everyone, let's head on back. So the last thing we want to do on our practice page is add an image. And to do that, I'd like us today to use Pixabay just as an example, and you can find the link to that back on slide 47. Or you could just go to pixabay.com. That's what I'm going to do. All right, let me know if you need me to repeat what I just said. We're heading back from our break. And we're going over to pixabay.com. There's a link on slide 47.
Yes, I just reposted it.
Thank you. Or you could just go to pixabay.com. But you know, that link will give you, automatically will give you some ideas of images that have an invisible background, which is what we're going for with our website, so that you don't get like that white square around anything. I'm just going to type Earth and just grab an image from here. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in another class, the images at the top are iStock, and those you have to pay for or have an account. So we want to look right in the middle. The images at the top and at the bottom are all, they're trying to get you to sign up for, oh, sometimes it's at the bottom. But this, you know, this has a lot of nice free images. I want to put transparent background though in my search, Earth. There we go. So I'm going to grab this one, and what I'm going to do, I can right click from here and copy image address. I think last time I did copy link address by accident, but I think what it is you have to do is copy image address, or you can click the image itself and it takes you to where you can download it. So if you wanted to actually own this image basically on your in your files, which is actually best, because if you just copy the URL and post it in your website, what if this Pixabay one day shuts down? Then your image won't be displayed anymore, because the directions from your HTML are saying go to this website and grab this image. But if the website doesn't exist anymore, then that image won't show up on your page anymore. So it's always good to have it on your computer and then upload it into your files. But first we're going to just try it with the URL. So again, you can right click the image. Oh, and by the way, the checkerboard behind it tells you that it has a transparent background. But right click and do copy image address, then head back over to your Visual Studio Code. And to set up a link, what we're going to do is use a tag called the anchor tag. And so it's the letter A. Put that under our ordered or unordered list. And the anchor tag needs some attributes. I was hoping that this would set it up for us. I think there's a extension that I'm missing, because it should set it up for you, because within the anchor tag, you have something called attributes. And attributes are really important for communicating details about that particular element. So for the anchor tag, we want to tell the browser where we're getting our information. So one of each attribute has two parts, the name and the value. So the name of the attribute we need here is SRC, and that will tell the browser where to look for the source of this image, whether it's the website or whether it's from a folder within our files. I think that's equals, yeah. So if you type SRC, and you see where I'm typing it, right? It's within the opening tag of our anchor element. It's between the brackets along with the A. And when you press equals, automatically quotation marks come up, and between the quotation marks is where we'll post the URL. And another attribute that's going to go still within that anchor tag is the, what else are we going to put here? The alt. The alt attribute, and then press equal, is a little bit of text that will let the user know, just in case that scenario we were talking about before actually happens, that the website shuts down. It lets the user know what should have been there in case we have what's called a broken link. So I'll put image of Earth as my alt text. Can you let me know? And I should, you can't see everything. Let me make this, I'm gonna make my VS Code bigger. Okay, there. So you can see the whole element. So here's my A element or anchor tag. Here's how it's set up. I know this is a lot, but this is all, the part that I'm highlighting right now is all just the opening tag of our element. So within that tag, we're putting two things called attributes. We're putting in the source attribute, which is the URL, and the alt attribute, which is just kind of like a little information about what this is, just in case for some reason it doesn't display for the user. You know, you ever, especially older websites, you ever go and you see like a broken link symbol and it gives you a message of what should have been there. We're going to try this out, but let me know if you were able to do it or not, or if you're having trouble.
All right, and also, I'm not sure if we know the answer to this question, but Martinette's asking, what's the best online location to host an image nowadays?
For
So
me,
maybe Martinette can expand a little bit on the question. And
oh, sure. So years and years and years ago, I had my like a little website that I ran, and I can't remember where it was, where I used to host my images online so that it's publicly accessible and everyone can view it in the code. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, best practice, or just like, what do you guys use to host your images? So for example, I know, go ahead.
I was going to say I use GitHub. That's
you use
for me
GitHub?
the best. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll check that out.
But I have trouble with other types of files, sound files, video files. I'm not sure if GitHub works. I know I was trying to create a little app that, you know, it was like a drum set, and when you hit the drum, it makes a sound. And I had trouble with storing those sound files. So I don't know the answer for every piece of media, but for images, GitHub is definitely really, really good.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, and how are we doing with this? Did everybody have their A tag set up, or A element or anchor element set up?
I did, but mine's not showing up.
Not showing up? Well, let me see if mine is. I might have made a mistake. First of all, I need to save it. And let me head over to the web browser and refresh. Mine's not showing up either. So it's something that I did wrong here.
I'm thinking that rather than SRC, it's href.
Yeah.
So href rather than our SRC.
Yeah. Why did I do that? I wonder why.
Because we use SRC when we're putting in like our source files for like JavaScript and like our scripts and stuff like that. And sometimes it's a little bit confusing, you know, the difference between the two.
Yeah, but that's interesting because I have it in my notes here. But when I did this class, you know, I taught this class before, I never made this mistake. So yeah, sorry. SRC is a good attribute for other types of information, but when for other links, that's what it is.
Francine's saying that she's thinking it's an image tag. So maybe that's it. Maybe because you were getting the actual link from the site. So that's it. So when you have your image downloaded, you can definitely use the image tag.
Right, right. So this, in this case, is going to be href, and we use src when we're making a regular link that you want people to click and go to a website. But href is for the image. Yes. So now that should work. So change src to href. Still doesn't work?
Should it be closed at the end of that sentence also with href, or no, just a?
Let me just, no, I have src. There's something else going on. Oh, you know what it is? I don't know if I said this, but the anchor tag is closed. It's self-closing. So this extra closing tag is not needed. And then put the A back in there. It deleted that as well. And then this should be src. And href is for when we want to make a link. So it's the other way around. This should work now. Let's see.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if you downloaded the image or if you were linking straight to.
Yeah, well, either way, you're going to set it up this way. If we download it, we can try downloading it too. But let's see, does this work? No, still not working. Okay, well, when I highlight this, let me just see. When I start typing A, look what it says here. If the A element has an href attribute, then it represents a hyperlink, a hypertext anchor labeled by its contents. So now let's see if I put src, nothing comes up for that. This worked. Oh, hold on. Let me just check something with yeah, you're right. Who said about the image thing? You're right. It should be an image tag. That's why.
Yeah, Francine got it.
Yay, Francine, you're right. IMG, which is also self-closing. Sorry. But it should still say src in the image. So the image element works very similarly to when you're creating a link, which you would use the A or the anchor tag for, and we'll do that in the next part of the class. But yes, this should work now. Yeah, awesome troubleshooting. Thank you, Francine. I need to look at the chat. It's just that the more things I have up, the more confused I get.
Yeah,
Oh,
I get it. It's hard to keep track of it. You guys are doing a great job helping us troubleshoot these things.
yeah. I'm not on my A game today, you could tell. All right, so now it works and you have your image. Great. Now, if we wanted to download it, it would be the same. So we go back to Pixabay, and this time you can use their downloader button. But another way to download is to right click and save image as. But you can click their little free thing. I usually just leave the settings here. It's kind of big though. That is kind of large.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask about that actually. What do you recommend as far as like the ability to load a page? Like what is the standard size?
Yeah, the standard size would be more in the KBs, and I can share a resource with you that I found that recommends what size images and what types of images, because it's true, the more you have on a page, the more megabytes it takes up, or gigs or KBs, it does affect how long it takes to load, and then your user won't hang around. So we can try the KB. But I don't know how nice of a quality it would come up to. And then see here, it says crediting isn't required, but linking back is greatly appreciated and allows image authors to gain exposure. And you can use the following text. So if you wanted to give credit, you can, but it's saying you don't have to. And since we're just practicing, we're not going to do that, but it's good to know how to use this website if you ever did want to use it in the future. So now I have this in my downloads folder, and what I want to do is put it into my file. I'm going to create an image file in my Visual Studio Code. So in that folder called Web Design Essentials, when you click on it, you can see that there are the ability to add files and add folders. So we'll click Add Folder. Can you see it, or should I make it bigger?
It's visible.
Okay. And you see when I hover over that folder icon, it says New Folder. So I'm going to click that. And right within here, it makes a new folder, and I'm going to name it Images. It's very important that you name it properly the way that you want it, because we're going to reference it within the HTML. So now you can see you should have two items in your web design folder, the images folder and the practice.html file. And when you go to your desktop and open up your folder, you see those in there. And then you can drag and drop the image into the folder. Let's see if I can do this. Click and drag. Let me try again. Or whatever way you know, is easier for you. For me, since they showed me what I downloaded on the bottom, I like to click it and just drag it and put it on top of the images folder. And see, it'll place it within there. And it even opens it up in Visual Studio Code and shows me what it'll look like. And again, the checkerboard is just to say that it's transparent. And then heading back to the practice HTML file, we can change the source. Now this is where I might forget. I think it's / and then, yeah, images. So / which shares the button with the question mark, and then type images. Or as you can see, it automatically comes up here. And I think, yeah, if you click that, it helps you out. And then you don't have to type the name of the image, because see, it will appear here for you. Why don't you try that and see if it works? Just click it. All right, let me know how that went. Meanwhile, oh, let me save it and see how it looks. I got a broken link. So this is what I was telling you about, that if your image is not, let's say you're using a website and that website shuts down and you don't have access to that image anymore, this is the message that you get. But now let's see, why is this not? It should work. We are telling the HTML right here to go into this folder, images, and take this image out and display it. Not working.
Michelle is saying in the chat to remove the first / right before images and see if that works.
Thank you. I knew I would get
for me anyway.
Thank you. But you know, if we hadn't known that, we could click the image here and go to the MDN and look it up. That's what my next move was going to be. Thank you, Michelle. Maybe you should consider teaching. Yep. That did the trick. Great. So either way, you can use your own file or you can use a URL. And yeah, I forget the little details a lot. And that's why I do read the docs a lot. I go to the MDN a lot. In creating this course, I had to go back and look things up because I remember, okay, you could do it this way, but I don't remember exactly what the element is, the name of it. And, the more you learn about CSS and JavaScript and Python, you start to mix things up too. So don't be afraid to not know and to look things up. All right, so now it's the exciting part. We finished our practice page. If you did it differently and you want to share what you did in the chat, that would be really fun. If you want us to see yours, if you didn't do the same exact one as me, but you chose a different topic, you can share it in the chat and unmute and tell us about it.
I did mine on mushrooms.
On what?
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms. All right. Do you
Yeah.
want to share it?
Sure.
Okay.
I've got a ton of stuff on my screen, so let's see what I can do here. Give me a hot second.
All right. Do you want to share it? Like, you want me to stop sharing, or did you want to put it in the chat?
Oh, yeah, I can take a screenshot and throw it in the chat. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, either way. Like, if you feel comfortable, maybe it's better for you to share it on the screen, but if not, then you can put it.
Oh, I can do a screen share. That's not a problem. You just need to release yours so I can.
Okay,
mine
yes. Forget that part. Yep.
Oh, screen sharing has failed to start. Please try again later.
Oh, really?
Awesome. I'm going to try again right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there's no love here. With I don't know if it's Firefox or what, but I'll go ahead and take a screenshot, no problem, and I'll throw it in the chat.
Thank you. Maybe I can share it if you don't mind. Oh, I just saw your message. Thanks for the encouragement, Michelle. All right, so while you're sharing it, let me just say a word on semantic versus non-semantic HTML. So HTML elements are supposed to, here, this is the slide that I wanted to show. So in the past, everybody used divs as their containers. And then they just put, and it was hard to read, like it's hard to organize your code when everything is a div. You will see frameworks using divs a lot, and that's part of what makes them controversial, because really we have moved to steer clear of the ambiguous sections with no hierarchy and using more clarifying elements. Like instead of div, using header, article, figure, footer as much as we can. So it's called semantic HTML. And so that is the best practice, is to, as much as possible, use elements that give meaning to describe the content on your page. And even when you can't do that, to definitely include a heading in that section so that people know what it is. Or there are other ways too. Let me just look up what I wrote here. So the main ones that we want to stay away from are divs and spans. But if you do, okay, the reason why too, like when we were talking about SEOs earlier, when you use semantic HTML, it improves your SEO. It makes your code more accessible and it makes it easier to read and maintain. And so we want to just make this our default practice. Divs and spans do have a place. They're good for grouping items. When you make something called a card component, it's good for grouping the items within it. But when you look at those items, you'll see clearly what they are. And they can live inside a semantic parent element to be used to organize other child elements. So, you know, when we talk about nesting, it can be nested within an element that is semantic. And you can use attributes. We were talking about attributes. When you have a div, you can add attributes to it to let people know what this is. There's an attribute called role that lets people know, oh, here's Marta. Marta came back, and Arya. And we'll talk more about those when we talk about accessibility. But yes, so now is the exciting part. Hi, Marta.
Hi guys, sorry it took me so long, but I'll watch
That's
the
okay.
recording.
You didn't miss much because I've been really super duper slow.
Oh, it's okay.
Here's the exciting part.
Real quick, Faraja, before you get to that, there's another question about span and div. What's the difference between the two of them?
So div is what we call a block element. It takes up the entire line. And then span is something you can use within a line. So in our example, we use the M and the strong elements. Those were how a span would be. And span, I find span to be very useful because if you want to style a certain word and you're not using M and strong because you just want it for styling purposes. If I want to make a word italic, I could put some span tags around it, and then I can call it from the HTML, from the CSS, and say, go to that span element and change it to a different color or a different font, or maybe, bold it or whatever. So that's the main difference that I know. Oops, what happened to all my slides?
Yeah, I saw a great example of that recently where someone was writing a blog post and they were listing ingredients for a recipe and they wanted to target those specific ingredients. And so they had a span and their class was like ingredients or something like that. And, within the paragraph that they were writing, they could target those specific words with the CSS that they wanted. So that's pretty much how it would be used.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to talk more about block versus we definitely will talk about block versus inline elements when we're talking about CSS, because you need to know that as far as positioning, how things can get positioned. You need to know what type of element it is, whether it's something that takes up a whole line, or if it's something that you can put them next to each other, So divs take up a whole line, spans can be grouped next to each other. Okay, does that answer the question? Okay, great. All right, the exciting part, our web page. So we're going to start planning the actual web page that we will do for this entire 4-week class. And just a little note on wireframes. When I first heard about wireframes, I said, oh no, then I don't want to be a UX developer because I can't have wires and stuff all over my house. But that's not that's not what wireframes are about. Wireframes are used by UX designers to come up with the concept before actually coding a website, and then what they do is give this kind of rough draft to the developer. And it's perfect for me to be a developer and not a UX designer because I'm not always so creative. But if you give me a wireframe, I can make that come to life. I can use HTML and CSS to actually make this idea come to life. And so that's what that is. And if you wanted to learn more about it, I don't want to put this link in the chat, but there is a link to a Coursera article that tells you more about what a wireframe is and how it's used. Fortunately, we don't need to make a wireframe for our project because we are going to make a a mock-up of an existing website. But first, I want you to understand something that a lot of UX designers have been implementing because it's very effective, and that's called the hero image strategy, where you put a big image at the top and you put like a little bit of headings, a little bit of paragraph, and then you have something called a call to action button. And this design has been working really, really well. I'm not going to tell you that it will always be the best way to make a website, but right now this is very, very current, and a lot of companies and organizations are using this style of building a website. And so when you click these two links, it shows you examples and explains more about what this hero image web page is all about. I'm going to click the example one, and you can click for yourself if you want to get a closer look. And you can see in the examples what I'm talking about. So how this one has a big it's called, what happened? I'm sorry, my mouse pad is taking over here. All right, here's one. It has a big image, and that's called the hero image. And then it has a nav bar on top and an logo. It has a heading, it has a paragraph, and then it has two call to action buttons that usually will say something like learn more, subscribe now, join. And these would either lead to another web page or to a part of that same page. So that's what our website is going to have a hero image style at the top. And that's what I wanted to work on today, on structuring that. It's not going to look so pretty yet, but it's going to look a lot like those examples. You're going to walk away with something to be proud of. So here's the fun part. Let's create a mock-up. And again, I've been obsessed with Netflix.com ever since I saw the progress that it made on that museum that we looked at, that online museum that shows you what it looked like in the past up to the future. I looked at the Netflix website and I said, this is a pretty simple yet effective website that I think we can actually emulate and learn all of the objectives of this class by doing it. It might not look exactly like theirs, and maybe we might find out that theirs is not exactly as accessible as it should be, or it doesn't look the way we would want it to look on different devices. So we might want to adjust it and make it our own. You could even change the theme to it to, these examples here, these funny examples that I came up with. When I shared this with my son, who is like the king of dad jokes, when I got to Setflix, he's like, oh, I thought you were just going to say Netflix for tennis galore. And he was like, I was like, yeah, you're right. We could just use Netflix for that. But yeah, try to say Fetflix 3 times fast, see what happens. So, oops. I think what I'm doing is pressing, it's not my mouse pad, it's my arrow keys that keep getting pressed. So now we're on slide 84. Wait, I'm sorry. Did everybody get a chance to look at the Netflix website? Let me go back to that. Let me just show you something here. So we talked about the hero image. They have that. They have a logo. They have what could be considered like the nav bar, these buttons here. And you might be wondering, well, how do they do some of this? These are all HTML elements. They have images, but you see it's mostly made up of H1s, right? H2s and paragraphs. And it has this really cool thing, an accordion. We can actually make a version of this using HTML. They probably use some kind of like Bootstrap, some type of library, like I was saying before, or what do we call it? Not library. What's the word I'm looking for? Marki, help me out if you know what I'm saying. Bootstrap is an example of it.
I wanted to say library as well off the top of my head. I was thinking, Bootstrap or Tailwind or something.
Yeah, Tailwind. Frameworks. They're called frameworks.
That's it. Thank you.
But I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's like a library of pre-made things, and you don't have to design it yourself. Like the nav bar with the logo, they probably just use that, you know, like a framework in order to just boom, grab a pre-made one and grab a pre-made accordion for the FAQs. But you can actually make a simple accordion or even a pretty complex one using HTML and CSS. So what else do they have here? They have email address collector, which we can make using HTML. And they have a button. We'll make a button it'll like do this, but it won't really go anywhere. We won't have to link it anywhere. This is interesting here, this phone number. When you click it, it will actually take you, set you up to make a phone call. You can do that using HTML. And then at the bottom, they have a bunch of links. So this website is mostly HTML and CSS. And that's why I thought it would be really fun. And it will really give us a sense of empowerment to make it by the end of this course. So yeah, let's get started with that. But I did want to use the breakout rooms. So we're not going to do too much. We probably won't finish everything with HTML today, because I want to do on slide number 84 is a list of all the things that I noticed that Netflix has. And oh, by the way, I verified some of this by looking, like you were saying, at the inspect tool. We'll take a closer look at that inspect tool at another time. But just to show you a little bit of a preview of it, when you right click on any website and click inspect, this comes up on the side and it gives you an insider look at what's going on in that website. So whenever I wasn't sure how they designed something, I came here and I basically just looked at the top, which I'm trying to make it that section bigger. Let's see how to do that. The top shows you the HTML that they used. And then the bottom shows you the CSS, but we won't look at the bottom. I'm trying to make it smaller. Oh, okay. So it's, again, look, all divs, right? Div. That's a little clue that they used a framework to do this. But you can see some familiar things, the doc type, the HTML with our head and body. So when you click head, you see all that metadata. They use a lot more metadata than us, right? Where's their title? Does anybody see the title? Tab. I don't see it right now. Maybe they did it.
Title is if you go right up to the top.
Oh,
and
here.
then,
Yeah, I see it.
Yep. So this is what they put in their tab, right? Thank you. And then closing the head. If you go into the body, it was already open. I just start highlighting or like clicking these divs until it gets more, till this point where on the left, it starts highlighting the specific area on the website. And then I'll open that div up. So like right here, the header. How did they do that, right? So I'm gonna click this down arrow to open that up. And oh, now it's getting even more specific. I'll click that. And it gives me information. So see, here's a span that they use there. This is how they make their logo. And let's see, what about the buttons? Here, so here's the div that contains the buttons. Here's the English button. When I open that up, it shows me their labels. So this is another thing that we can do to really get deep into how somebody uses the code and just dig as deep as you want. There was something I was trying to find to show you. But anyway, we'll come back to this later. I just wanted to let you know in order to create our plan. I looked at that several times to see what they possibly did and how we can make it using HTML and CSS. Wait, what else did I say here? Let me show you this. Here's the boilerplate again, because we're going to set up a new file. And yes, the whole problem before, Marki, was like you said, I didn't put the .html when I created the file, and it didn't read it as an HTML file. So let's make sure this time that we put the index.html, not just index. I do want to present an optional boilerplate. So let me just show it to you first, and then I want you to take a look at it. So this is just all of those elements I showed you, like how they're set up. It's basically a cheat sheet, or, I mean, it's not really cheating. This is what coders do. We look at each other's codes, right? And we can copy things, but the thing is, you want to understand what it is you're copying. So I wouldn't recommend that you fork this and just fill in the blanks. But as I'm teaching, and if you find that you're a little stuck, you missed something that I showed, I would ask you to come here and look at this template and try to see, look more closely at each little section that we're doing. So we're going to work on our navigation. When we're on the navigation section, you can look here at more closely at how it's set up, and then you can fill in the blanks. You can copy and paste it into your code, or you can just have it open on the side and type it, copy it, if I'm going a little too quickly, and this works for you as your learning style. Okay. All right, I meant to ask you to open that up and look at it. Can everybody open up the optional template? It's on slide 84. Just click this link here.
It's in the chat, so.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Take a look at it. This is using one of those online editors that we talked about before, Replit. And so on the left side is the list of files. In the middle is like what's equivalent to Visual Studio Code, where you would type your code. And then on the right is the web view, how it will present. So when you click the green run button, it shows you the code. It's not going to show much right now. You will see I put some buttons in there. I put an email collector. I put the this is called the details element, so we can make our accordion. But it's all empty, right? Because there is no content between the quotation marks anywhere here, right? Okay. Any questions about the template?
I have a little question. I don't see the web view. I see the like the center and the left view, but I don't have, does anyone know how I open that web view?
Okay, well, is it like this? Do you see this?
Yeah.
So there might be a little arrow beat at the end. See?
No, I just see ads. Maybe I need to create a account.
I'm not sure of that, because this is definitely can I see your screen?
Yeah, sure. I'll share as soon as you stop sharing.
Wait, I have to stop, yeah.
Thanks for looking. Okay, so I see this, but I don't see like a little expander.
Now, sorry, something's in front. Okay. Oh, can you click run?
Okay, sure. That's probably it.
Oh, it just shows them, instead of side by side, it shows them.
Okay.
Well,
that's okay.
I'm not going to say it's not important, but since this is just a template, you're never going to, it's not going to really load anything anyway.
Yeah.
I think okay, you saw it that way by opening it in a separate tab.
Which is fine.
Because remember last time you did create an account, so that's probably why. Maybe you would need to create an account.
Alrighty.
Okay.
It's
assuming you're just looking at it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I will try that. I'll let you know if that works.
Okay, great. Well, we don't have much time for like starting a whole new topic. And I did want us to use those breakout rooms. And so maybe we can use our practice. What am I trying to say? We can use our practice HTMLs that we did in Visual Studio Code and maybe explore a little more with that. Or if anybody's having trouble with it, to talk about it. What do you think? So we have 10 minutes left. And I do think it's important to have time to work with another student without the teacher there in front of you. What do you guys think? I know it's a small group.
Yeah, I think that's great. This is Marta. I think that's a great idea, although I'm way behind, so I'm not going to be of much help to anyone because I can't, my practice.html is not even showing the web view. I'm not sure what I'm missing.
Oh, yeah, you have the same question as Martinette. I think it's because you're not signed in, right?
I'm talking about Visual Studio, Code Studio.
Okay.
But yes, also in that the mock-up and Replit, yes, I have the same issue, and I think it's because I have to create a account.
Okay. All right. So
Same for me too. I'm not seeing the web view, but I don't think it's a big deal. I understand what you've shown in the boilerplate, which is cool.
yeah, but maybe we can use this 10 minutes to focus in on people who are having these type of issues and see if we can problem solve either here in the main room, or we do have breakout rooms, right, Marki? We have breakout rooms open already, or should I open them?
We don't, sorry, we don't have them open yet.
That's okay. I got it. I got it here. I'm going to open 2 breakout rooms and assign automatically. No, let participants choose. So it'll be your choice if you want to. Maybe in the chat say, hey, I'm going in there to do XYZ. Does anyone want to join me? And people can go, or we can address your questions here in the main room. And we'll do that until the end of the course, but until the end, until 4. But usually I would want to spend more time in that breakout room. It's just today was kind of tough, it was the first day, but from now on, like next week, I want to spend more time in that breakout room. I think it's really important to work with other developers, even if they know more than you or know less than you, to pair up with people and work together like that.
Okay, so Michelle's in room number 1, and
I'm going to go into 2.
here we go. Martha said she's going to go in 2.
So I am definitely stuck because I missed a lot of the class. So,
Yeah,
but
Marki or I can go in there and help you.
okay, so I'm going to hop in there.
Okay. Do you want me to, Faraja, hop in there?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Great. And then I can go in the other breakout room, or Francine.
I think I'm going to have to bow out only because the family is hungry.
Okay.
But this was really awesome. Thank you for showing me basics again, because those are things I totally forgot.
Yes. Well, remember we have a recording.
Yes,
so I'll
that's
send it
awesome
out.
too.
Yeah, I'm going to send it out this evening, and you can see what you missed. And
I
again,
have a question though about the next week. I know I will not be able to attend. Where can I get the recording of next week, or who should I contact?
it'll be the same way that you're getting today's recording. So in a couple of hours after the video,
Okay.
what's the word I'm looking for? Renders. I'm going to send a reminder from the Google Calendar invite that you got earlier. And so basically I'll be updating the Google Calendar invite. And when you look in there, you'll see a link to each class's recording.
Okay, hopefully. I had a lot of technical difficulties in signing up for membership and getting access to the class. I couldn't get access to the class, but someone emailed me the link directly to this Zoom meeting.
Really, what happened?
Well, I signed up for the membership. Literally, I did it probably an hour or two before the class, and I tried to, I guess, go to the website to register, and I thought it was free, but it kept trying to charge me for it, and that's where I posted questions, and someone replied back to me. I forget who.
Okay. You know what it was, since you signed up, or like close to when class started, you didn't receive the email that I sent yesterday.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure I'm out of sync with whatever was supposed to happen. It's on me for not signing up earlier.
No, no big deal at all. I just want to make sure that you are in my on that invite. So let me set that up now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, thank you. I am not sure what to do going forward.
Yeah, all you have to do is give me your email, but let me tell you when I'm going on the calendar now. And I will,
thank you.
yeah, I'm gonna add you. Okay. Tell me your email.
I was looking for a chat box. Where'd it go?
Oh, you're gonna put it in chat?
Yeah. There we go.
Got it. Okay. I'm so glad you signed up.
Me too. I am glad these classes are being offered because I'm just beyond rusty. I haven't like touched code in a year. And you reminded me of a lot of things I've forgotten back in the day. And things that have changed. It's like, well, 10 years ago, I didn't even know about HTML5.
That's so true. I don't know if you were here yet when I was talking about my situation where I took a break for a few months. And once I came back, I just didn't remember. It's not that so much changed, but I didn't remember stuff, basic stuff. And
yeah, rusty. I'm rusty.
yeah, you have to do it frequently. So what do you do?
I will call myself also a backend developer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not used to the design part of things.
Right.
Used to like getting it from a design group, be like, oh, okay, you can make it pretty and help me with the back end. Because
Right.
I don't know I don't know what to do on the front end.
Yeah, we all have our niche, right?
Yeah. But I feel like I should know that or know more about the design part of things.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt, and then people have less control. They can't just tell you anything because you have a little bit more knowledge than what they think.
Yeah. And I think another thing you mentioned, or I guess it will come up in other classes or in this class, things about web accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because I work on the government side, and normally I'm the one working on that web accessibility, testing the websites to make sure they sound okay with a screen reader and stuff.
Yes.
It's dependent on the way the page is constructed.
Exactly. Like that aria, the aria.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, we're going to spend a lot of time on that. Maybe you can even add to, whatever knowledge you have.
I'm rusty though. But
well, I'm rusty too. And then there's an even more advanced HTML, CSS course. So this is Web Design Essentials 1. There's a Web Design Essentials 2 that gets even more deep into the ins and outs. And I'm not there. Like I wouldn't be able to teach that course. It's just very, especially CSS can be so intricate.
yes.
Yeah.
And I know I was just finagling myself trying to figure out what to do with this and that and pretending I knew what I was doing. I'm like, no, CSS is over my head. It's so sad. Like I know Java, I know a little .NET, but CSS is like,
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you can really go down a rabbit hole. That's what happened to me because, I made the project just to see can it be done within the class. And I really just spent hours. It was so fun though. It's so fun and rewarding once you get it to work. But
Agreed. That's how I first learned about programming.
mm-hmm. So what's your story? How did you get involved with
Oh, Yeah, I think I was in middle school. I picked up a library book and it was about computers, and the way in the back was a program, Q Basic. And I'm like, what does this do? And I put it in the computer that my parents had. And I'm like, I just told the computer what to do. And that was, yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah. It's like never went back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been coding probably for about 20 years, but in one particular language,
Mhm.
I felt handicapped by it. It's called Cold Fusion.
I haven't heard of that.
Adobe owns it now, but it helps developers rapidly develop websites, but it's almost like its own server and its own language, proprietary.
Hmm.
And it's very useful in quickly putting together a website and connecting to a database or web forms. But it took me out of the trenches. So I forgot the basics.
Yeah, that's what happens. We can't
Yeah.
know it all, you know, it's impossible.
And I feel embarrassed. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't remember how CSS works.
And then I noticed these companies, you know, you can learn, you know, like for me, it's React. I feel like, oh, I need to learn React.
Yes.
Everybody wants React. But then you, like my son, he knew React, but the company that he works for, they don't use React. They use their own thing. So you still have to ask
Exactly.
what they want.
Same way with the government. Like the things I want to learn, I can't use with the government because they have their own custom stuff.
Right.
So I feel really out of touch.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
frameworks. I've got that on my list. React, Vue, Angular to learn about.
Yeah, I'm just stuck with React right now. The use state, it's very it's tripping me up. Just the concept of it. But
Yeah.
I'll get back into it. It's nice though, like you know, like this is a review for me. To create this course was a review for me after taking a few months off. So, you know, it's good to come back and just make sure I'm solid.
Agreed. Well, I've got to go, but thank you again for hosting this.
Thank you, Francine. So we look forward to seeing you again.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Oh, sorry, I was plugging in my laptop because it said battery running low. All right, how did it go in the breakout rooms?
I think it went pretty well. I'm not sure if everybody else can unmute or not, because when we came back in, it said that we were all muted, but I'm on. So
Yeah,
I don't know if everybody else can.
Oh, Michelle is unmuted.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I thought it went well.
Okay, good. So we can implement that in our practice going forward.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So next week, we will really delve into the HTML and CSS of our project. It was hard for me to gauge how much we would get accomplished because the last time I taught a similar course, I think I rushed everything. So I was able to meet all of the objectives, but I don't think everybody was with me. You know, I don't think everybody understood everything and had time. So I really made an effort to slow things down for today. But let me see, Marki, which slide is the survey on? I wanted to just jump to that. Do you have that in front of you?
Let me grab that link really quickly. And
Okay.
there was a question as to is there homework for next week?
No, I didn't want to assign homework per se. I would just say review what we've done and really look at the MDN docs, you know. We haven't really done much as far as, you know, we didn't start this stuff yet, but there's no official homework because we're going to have the in-class practice. Any homework you do would really be just an extension to maybe you want to try exploring some other HTML elements that we didn't talk about in here. That slide was, it's a lot of slides. Okay.
Is that the one that had the MDN?
Mhm.
Let me find that.
Oh, it wasn't, I guess I didn't display it because I didn't really want people to look at it so closely during class, but the one that has the links to all of the different HTML elements, when you go on MDN, you could even do a Google search, you know, just go to MDN. MDN Web Docs. It's officially developer.mozilla.org. And then you can kind of look around the site and get familiar with HTML. Yeah, remember this site? So it shows you all of the different elements, maybe learning more about them if you want for homework, but no official assignment. How do you feel about that? Would you like homework?
I kind of want to like not get stuck and then be or not confused, but you know what I'm saying? Like if I could move forward with something. But again, I don't want to create something that is not in your curriculum either. So
Well, a big part of getting stuck when you're working by yourself is these docs. And that's something, one of the courses I took, I learned about that, the value of reading these docs when you get stuck.
okay.
Or even just typing your question in Google. And we'll be doing that more as time goes on.
Yeah.
You'll see other people had the same exact question as you. And there's this website called Stack Overflow where people
Yeah.
try to answer it. I don't usually like their answers, so it kind of makes it worse for me. But I mean, sometimes it can be helpful.
Yeah.
And in your code editor, remember that they also give you advice. Sometimes they'll even show you your errors. See, these kind of little flags, they give you help too. And if you make an error, it'll be underlined in red. And if you hover over it, it gives you help. You just have to read it, you know?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Does it help? Is it helpful to go to CodePen and read stuff there? Because I have a subscription. I guess I get all kinds of newsletters there.
Sure. Yeah. Any of these sites where there's a community.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure they can help you with questions that you have. But as we get really deep into the project, you know, you will want to explore more on your own, you know, like you kind of have your own built-in homework because you want to try more. I could come up with some challenges though, like official challenges to help you, but it will require you reading through docs and, you know, exploring. Great. All right. So Marki, you said you displayed this. Which slide is that on? Do you know the number? Oh, is it 102?
I couldn't find the slide. What I did was I just went to MDN and I grabbed a link.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then the survey's on 103.
Oh yeah, and the survey is already, I did put that in the chat, but I can repost that one more time in case somebody didn't quite find it and needs to, doesn't want to scroll up. So.
All right. Well, this was really great. And I think next week we'll get deep into this, and It's going to be nice. We're going to have a lot of fun. So at this time, I'm going to stop the recording